There is a science of sales and the art of sales.
PhD, 3 startups, guys, 3.
Like these little things,
Crazy.
right? I don't meet anyone after 2 p.m. A lot of people make the mistake that they're like, okay, let me do everything and see who bites. 20% is human error. I found it is more challenging as a woman to bring in money. Oh, this guy knows how to deal with money. You know, he has a nice watch. I don't know. The same thing with women, nice watch, is like, oh, no, there was negativity.
Hi, everyone. Today I have a very special guest. It's a friend of mine. We've been to the same accelerator. It's Jessica Pely, and she is a scientist who became an entrepreneur. She's a startup founder. She's a leader in sales, but with AI capabilities. Thank you so much for coming to this podcast. Yes, it's my pleasure.
Yes, thank you, Anna, for having me. It's so nice to see you again here in San Francisco.
And today we will have very interesting topic about AI in sales, because I know that you're a leader. You are the best person to ask about that. And maybe people will know more about how they can leverage AI into the sales process, because this is a very important part of every business. No matter how great product is, you have to sell it, right?
Exactly, yes. The more the better.
Yeah, but let me start with a question. How you actually came to this AI sales world? Tell me more about your journey.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it already, right? I'm like kind of coming from science. So I did my PhD in financial economics and I studied computer science. And it's my third startup. But with the second one, I was a product person that needed to do sales. And it was really challenging, like when you're not from the industry and when you have no idea where to start. And I realized it was a fintech company and we were selling like to different personas and, you know, experimenting. And it was always like a hustle, like who to go after and why. And where do I get the data from? How do I approach them? It was like always like big question marks. And then I realized how inefficient the process is. And that's where the idea of Loy originated.
That's wonderful. Yeah, like sales is also the biggest question. And I remember how much time actually in Accelerator it was dedicated specifically to this process, but it still was not enough, right? Because it's always like the question, how to do that, how to sell something. And yes, I always was impressed by your background, that you are from science, from finance, from economics. You have PhD, 3 startups, guys, 3, not one. And then you eventually come to transform this industry. My next question would be, what would be your advice for startups who are, or just business owners who just getting started? Like, from what they have to start this process and how they can leverage AI at the very beginning?
Yeah, I mean, we can talk here a lot. So let me try to collect my thoughts. So if we look at a sales process, it's okay. We have to get leads in that can come either from marketing or from sales, right? And then you have to guide it through the sales process and then you have to negotiate and close. So in every of these steps, you can technically leverage AI. You can either automate things, you can replace things, or you can just enable things, just roughly. So when we start at the beginning, I think as a business owner or as a founder, you always have to think like, okay, what do I want to achieve? Like, who am I selling this to? And I think the biggest mistake, and everybody teaches us, right? Like, find your ICP. What's your ICP? What's
Yes,
your
right. My favorite topic.
I think it's a great framework, right? Because as people, we need to narrow it down. We cannot sell to everybody. So it's really crucial that you know exactly what's your vision, where do you want to go, and how do you end up there. So you find like when you're very small, you can't just work on one thing. So do that thing and test it and find your ICP, test it. And if it doesn't work, try the next one. Don't do too much in parallel. So once you defined what is important to you, you have to find those people, right? So that's, I think, where technology can come in. I mean, you can ask GPT who to go after and why. Like sometimes it's not bad actually. Yeah. So where do you start? I always say you need a long list where to start and then create a short list out of it. That's probably the easiest. So where do you get a long list from? You can get a big list of leads from different tools, from LinkedIn, from Crunchbase, wherever you think your key person will be featured. And then you take this list and then you do research. Like out of the big list, who should I go after? Like, you cannot go after hundreds or 10,000s of prospects. So you have to really narrow it down. And out of the big list, you have to find the most important ones for you. And back then it was a very intense manual research, but now you can use AI to let you do the research.
For example?
And there are different tools, like our company is one of them, Pely. So you basically type in what you want and it researches the web for you. So you can say, okay, you are a marketing company and you are selling a marketing product. So you want to find, I don't know, Series A, Series B startups that have like a certain setup. So you get to go to Crunchbase, you get a long list, and then you say, okay, I work well with startups where maybe the founder is technical and has no marketing background. I work well with companies that are just hiring someone to do demand generation or growth. I work with startups that are using HubSpot. So all this research you can do automatically using AI because you scrape the web for those insights. So you find those triggers, those insights, you shorten the list. So yeah, after you have the short list and you know who to go after, you have to understand the why, right? So now we understand the why and you use this why to approach your prospect. So you have to tell them, why am I approaching you? And you use, I don't know, the research to leverage that for personalized messaging. For example, if we go after companies that sell software and we are selling to sales, I'm interested, is this company actually having a sales motion, an outbound sales motion? So my shortlist is from all B2B companies that sell software, I want only those that sell outbound. So not only inbound, but also like do research, do prospecting, outreach, cold emails. And I use, like, for example, as a trigger, okay, are they hiring right now SDRs or AEs? Because then I know the problem is pressing, it's urgent, it's timely. So I use those insights of the research for personalizing my messages. And there are tools out there that just focus on that. We also have a feature that uses the research to personalize the message. And yeah, then hopefully they book a meeting.
Well, that's amazing. And what do you think, like, the main mistakes which people are doing when they're just starting? This is the beginning of the business. This is just early stage startup, but they have these mistakes in sales process with AI or without anything.
Yeah, like I think if we stay top of the funnel, and this process that we're talking about is, they always tell you should be focusing, right? So really focus on who you want to go after and why. Don't use the spray and pray. Like, a lot of people make the mistake that they're like, okay, let me do everything and see who bites.
Yeah.
But you have to, as a startup or early stage company, you have to use learnings. And if you learn from who bites, you never learn fast enough because you don't have so many people that bite that are of similar kind.
Yeah.
So the beauty is, when you focus, is that if someone bites, it's always of the same kind. So you double down your learnings, you're way faster. So I think this being focused on the ICP, on the persona you want to go after, and really put effort into this list building and being personalized, I think really pays off.
That's cool. And in terms of, for example, larger companies, is it like the same process or it's slightly different, and how they can leverage AI these days for sales?
Yeah. So I think at the end, it's all very similar. We also work with large customers. Obviously, it takes all longer. So I would say, like, as a startup, you can be fast, you can iterate fast. You don't like one tool, you bring in the next tool. You know, you can really experiment. And I think with large organizations, they need to think more through what they need. So they really have to map out their process and see what vendor fit into that process. And, you know, in the go-to-market space, sales and marketing, you have so many tools. And people are always annoyed, oh, there are so many tools. But actually, these tools exist because companies have different processes and they need different integrations, different setups. So coming back to your question, first of all, I think the process is similar. They need to understand, though, more what they need in terms of a process, which integrations, and people need to be aligned. But yeah, our customers that use us have the same process, right? They get our big list, they shorten it down. And I think what is important there is to really understand what AI can do and cannot do.
Yeah, that would be my next question. So please explain me more about that. What to delegate and what not to delegate to AI.
Yeah, so when we talk, it's different for startups because startups, you give them a tool, they figure it out how to use it. But with AI, you have to think about, it's like an intern. Like imagine you have an assistant that is an intern. Like it takes time that the intern knows what to do. So it really takes some time to understand, like, okay, what can we actually delegate, right? That's to your question. And if you delegate, you need to understand what can be like the error rate. Like AI is not perfect. It's like an intern, so it's not very experienced. It's getting better over time. But same as an intern, right? Like they need to progress and learn to kind of deliver meaningful results. And that's something that when we have enterprise clients, we always have like a sheet or like a session where we explain what AI can do and cannot do. So for example, we say if a human, like an intern, needs to do this research, like say 10,000 leads, it would take a team of 100 salespeople probably a year to go really well over that list. Next to the rest of the work, right? Sure. Like if they do maybe one day, like research. Now, there will be errors. And human error is real. Like people say like 20% is human error if the task is simple. So that's what research says. Now, imagine an AI, if it's an intern, their error rate is also 20%. But what companies really, they're very impatient. They expect that an AI is perfect.
Yes.
And that's the problem. They expect error rate of 0 or very little. Tolerate the error rate.
Yeah, but like in this case, I know that, for example, we implement AI into like already existing companies, which are pretty big. And that's also the problem because they need to understand that there is a room for hallucination even, right? Yeah. So 99% it would be the right, correct answer, but 1% it would be some mistake. And I also see this like impressions from their side because we had before like 20 people who was doing it manually. Now AI can come. It's cheaper, 10 times cheaper, right? But we still don't have patience to have one mistake over like the 100 processes.
It's so crazy.
And I understand this desire, right? But we will still get to that point in the future.
Yeah, I mean, already now, like the GPT models already outperform humans with simple tasks.
That's right. Yes.
And yeah, as you said, people need to develop some patience or at least understanding of data. It's not even you have to understand what AI does. It's really fundamentals of like data. Like what does it mean, right? But yeah, that's also our struggle. Like that we really have to show them, think of it as an intern. If an intern makes a mistake, you also don't fire the intern the next day. Right?
Yes, you iterate, you kind of
you iterate, you give a chance, you help, you coach. And the same approach you need when you want to implement an AI. Like you have to coach the AI, you have to be patient,
Maybe also like to separate one process into like small but simple processes for AI in order to decrease the chances of hallucinations and mistakes. And then it also would be easier.
That's a good topic. Because what I've seen, if I would love to hear your opinion there, is when people want to bring in AI, they think they are going to transform the company. And then they complain, they bring in something and then they are not satisfied because it didn't transform the company. And what I try to say is, you have to grow into it. You have to start small, like you said, like find one little piece that you want to automate. And from there you iterate and start. And it's more like an agile approach to implementation. And that's the challenge.
And maybe identify like the most manual repetitive task at the beginning and then transform it into AI powered task, right? Then it's already something that's you have like more time of your employees to focus on something more complex, right? Or to give more attention to customers or nurture more leads into like almost the closing stage or something like that, or even outperform what they have to do with the product or with the service, right?
Exactly. Yeah, no, I'm totally with you there.
But let's then step back from AI and talk about what couldn't be delegated these days to AI, especially in sales process, because we all know that it's more about human connections, it's about relationships, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. So, two thoughts here from my end. One is, I think you know how they say there is a science of sales and the art of sales. And the art is really this human connection that you need, the relationship building, especially for, more expensive products, more complex products. That human aspect is really there, and you need this consulting, right? So right now I say try to engineer everything that is related to the science of sales and try to create space for the art of sales. And I think
that's an interesting point. I never heard like that.
And I think that's really something that you have to always keep in mind. You cannot do it from 0 to 100, but really try to automate the data side, the scientific side, and really create room for the human side. Now, that's one thing. The other thing is, and I mentioned that already, is, you have, let's say, an easy product and a complex product, plus a buyer that knows what they want and they don't know what they want. So you have this matrix. And depending on what cross-section you have, your AI must change. Because if a buyer knows what they want and the product is simple, you can automate a lot. Because you don't have to consult so much, you don't have to teach so much, educate so much, and the buyer can easily find it because, at the end of the day, they know what they want. So there, I think with AI and automations, you can do a lot. Now, if you are on the other spectrum, complex product, maybe more pricey product, which is oftentimes correlated, and the buyer does not know that they have a pain, that's where you need the salespeople, the human aspect. Because oftentimes buyers don't know that they have a problem that can be solved with AI, for example.
Okay, so you need to highlight the problem first.
So you have to highlight the problem. You can tell them, teach them, what if you don't solve the problem? What if you solve the problem? So it's like this consultative sales. And I think there we still need the humans, right? And then also on the buying side, like the larger the organization, you cannot just bring in a vendor. You have to really do an assessment with different tools and so on. And sometimes it's very difficult to distinguish different types of tools, especially in the AI world. Like, what is the input that is needed? What is the output that will come with it? And there you need actually really good salespeople to help them on that journey.
Yeah, that's right. And my next question would be not about sales, not about AI, So tell me, what is the most complex and hard point of being a female founder?
Oh, that's an interesting question.
Maybe in sales, maybe in general, but what is your feeling here? Is it like additional challenge, for example, for your company, or it's like no difference?
Yeah. I would say for me, from my experience, and I'm in a bubble that is really man dominated, right? Finance, tech. I was also before in prop tech. I found it is more challenging as a woman to bring in money. That can be in sales, that can be also from investments. And one reason is, and that was particularly when I came to the US from Europe. So I would say it's more diverse and there are more opportunities for women. But if you are in the sales industry or, I don't know, with funding, it's very network based here in the States. And without a network and the people who are in that network are usually men, it is challenging to, find the right people that will push you, pull you, and open you the doors. And so from that perspective, I think, it can be sometimes, it might take longer to get money in.
I see, but we still need money, like the same money. It's not different universe.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, look at the stats. 20% of founders are women, but only 1.7% of VC money goes into female-founded teams. So you do have like a imbalance. It's getting better, but I think, I wouldn't say that we are an outlier in that system.
Yeah, that's true. I hope that it will change. It's already changing, but the change is so slow. I wish it would be faster for sure. And I just see like such amazing founders like you, like other my friends, who kind of like so hardworking, everything like straight to the point. They just do what they say that they'll do, and then I just wish that it would be easier to bring money, investments, and everything, close deals, because like it's not about the quality of products or the performance of the team. It's just like sometimes this gender aspect, and that's it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you some examples. There is a study, it's a longer time ago, like 2017. They had like a IC meeting, like the investors were evaluating startup that they met over the week, and they transcribed it, and then they talked about the results. So when a man was wearing a nice watch, the VCs were more inclined of supporting that founder, because they're like, oh, this guy knows how to deal with money. He has a nice watch. I don't know. The same thing with women, nice watch is like, oh, no, there was negative sentiment, because they said, oh, this must be a very high maintenance woman. She does not know how to deal with money. So it was completely like the opposite. And that's like these little things,
Crazy.
Right? And I mean, Anna, we talked about this so often, but we made our experiences, right? And what was the advice of our accelerator? Don't meet anyone after 2 p.m. because afterwards you don't know if it's a business meeting or whether other incentives are in the game. So yeah, we have to optimize.
Yeah, that's true. That's like, so many additional rules, you have to keep in mind, and that's annoying. But anyway, that's the reality where we live in, and we have to do something with that. And my next question would be like, where do you see AI is going, and where would be AI in sales? There any like additional capabilities? So what do you think about that of the future?
So right now, I mean, coming from, with my economic background, there's a lot of inefficiencies in the market, right? Like you have a lot of tools, you have a lot of companies, and the problem is not always the best tools land at the best companies, and not always the right tools land at the right company. And I think 50% of software purchases are a regret. So they really regret that they brought in the software to 50%. And I think with AI, this will reduce. So we will understand exactly what to buy, and that's when we also will know who to sell to, and there will be like a way better matching. Now, that's like from our concept. How do we get there with AI? So I think like, doing the proper research, not spamming people with emails and LinkedIn message if it's not a good fit, right? So that's on that end. And people are saying that there will be bots talking to each other, and then when the bots identify if there is a match, then hey, let's go, and then we can, then we have like a match, and then let's make the people talk in the next step. And I think when it comes to implementation and negotiation, I think there the human touch will still be there. But let's see. I'm not thinking too much in the future.
Yeah, you're focusing on the present. Yeah, for sure. So let me know, please, and let other people also know how they can find about Logi, and where they can subscribe or start using your tool.
Yeah, I mean, you can find us on LinkedIn, of course, and you can check out our website. It's logi.ai. But yeah, most of the time I'm reachable via LinkedIn if you have any questions. If I can support you along the startup journey or sales journey or demand generation, I'm happy to help.
Yeah, so everything what you need about AI in sales, it's to Jessica. She's the best in that. If you need to transform your company from non-AI into AI power, that's what we are doing at Forcify. And thank you so much for such an incredible talk today about so many insights, and for all your knowledge, and good luck with your company. And I wish you many, many happy customers and great investors.
Oh, thank you, Anna. And thanks for having me. It was really a pleasure doing the podcast with you.
Thank you.